Hey guys, welcome to my January wrap-up and February TBR. In January, I managed to read 7 books. I really thought I wasn't gonna be able to because I had school. I mostly did stick to my January TBR for my video. I'll put it right here. The only books I didn't get to were The Summoning and Sanctum, but I did finish the rest. The first book I finished in January was The Unbecoming of Mara Dyer by Michelle Hodkins. I do not have the physical book because it was a library copy and I had to return it. Most of the books I read in January were library books, so I won't be having an actual physical cover of it. I gave The Unbecoming of Mara Dyer 5 stars. I thought it was a great story. Michelle really knows how to creep people out. The writing was fantastic. The characters were amazing. No need for me to mention Noah Shaw because we all know Noah Shaw is amazing on his own. After that, of course, I had to pick up the sequel to The Unbecoming of Mara Dyer, so I read The Evolution of Mara Dyer. I was a little disappointed in The Evolution of Mara Dyer. I gave this book 3 stars. The creepy scale was still a 5. It's just how the story was going. I felt like nothing got done. As they kept searching for the truth, they just kept going in circles and they kept coming back to the same conclusions, and it was just, I didn't enjoy it as much as I enjoyed The Unbecoming of Mara Dyer. That does not mean I'm not going to continue on with the series, because I am. The Retribution of Mara Dyer is coming out this year. I then read Unearthly by Cynthia Han. I gave this book 4.5 stars. I really did enjoy as much as I enjoyed Angel Fall. I guess I enjoyed it more because of the twists that come with the book. The one thing that I will say that annoyed me about this book was Clara's obsession with Christian. It made me roll my eyes a lot, like the pizza scene when it was just, ugh, really? Like, I mean, get over it. After Unearthly, I reread the Vampire Academy not books. I read The Vampire Academy by Rochelle Mead, and I was just, it just made me realize how much I love it even more. If you have not read this series, I highly suggest you pick it up. The movie's coming out next week, and I just can't wait. If I could give it 1,000 stars, I would. This next book was for school, so it didn't really matter, but I read it in January. So it is Blink by Malcolm Gladwell. It is a non-fiction book about stories and research about how unconscious decision making can be good as well as thought out decisions. Some of the stories that were written in here in the book, they were really good. Like, I liked the Pepsi one. I liked the improv one. I could really relate to the improv one because I took a semester of drama in high school. So I gave Blink 3 stars. I had said that I was going to read Sanctum by Sarah Fine and The Summoning by Kelly Armstrong, but I didn't. The first book I read is Wait For You by Jay Lynn, also known as Jennifer L. Armentrout. I gave this book 3 stars. For my first new adult novel, I felt like it was very predictable. It's like most of the contemporary books I read in the young adult, except that it's in new adult and it has sex scenes. So yeah, you just heard right. I said sex scenes. It was very predictable. Nothing I haven't read before. The character of Avery really did annoy me a little bit with her little like, ooh, you can't have me, you can't touch me, and with the, ooh, I want you, come hither kind of attitude towards Cam. It was just a really quick read, something that I read on my iPad while I was at school. The last book I read in January, I actually finished yesterday before midnight, and that is Grave Mercy by Robin Lefevre. I never know if I'm saying that name right. I gave this book 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. This is actually a really good historical fiction book. If you're I mean, if you're just starting out in the historical fiction genre, I do not recommend you read this book. The main character, she was raised in a convent. All these girls are daughters of death. They basically teach them how to kill people. So these nuns are teaching them how to use guns, how to use crossbows, poisons, and how to use their womanly charms to be able to get close enough to actually kill this person with what they say they have the mark. They basically have the mark on however they're gonna die. So if a person is gonna die by, you know, a shot to the heart, the mark is gonna be in the heart. If they're going to die by poison, then the mark is on their lip. If they're gonna die strangled, then the mark is on their neck. It's basically that. The main character really does develop really well. She starts to see that there's two sides to how death works. It's not always just to carry out his deed by killing the people, but it's also showing mercy at the same time. It was a very interesting story. I really want to continue on with the series. That is all for my January wrap up. Now let's go ahead with my February TBR. I'm not gonna snatch anything from my TBR jar this month since it's a very small month and I have another book to read for my English class. So I'm just gonna go with these books and hope I get through them. If I do, then I'll see if I can read The Summoning, which was in my January TBR, but I never got to it. I decided to read in February is World After by Susan E. The sequel to Angelful, and I have to read it. I want to know what happens with Penryn and Rafi. Then I have Emerald Green by Kirsten Gear, the last book in the Ruby Red trilogy. I absolutely love this trilogy. Oh man, I had to wait basically 2 months for this book. I had it on hold in my library, but there were like 11 people ahead of me waiting for this book also, so I'm so thankful I finally have it in my hands, and I can't wait to see how this trilogy ends. Of course, for my January TBR, I have Chrissy Cole's Endless Night, the sequel to Poison Princess. This will be a quick read, so it's like 300 pages long. This month I'm gonna read Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. I heard it's a kick-ass book, that there's a lot of ass whooping in this book. I love me an ass whooping book. I mean, hello, The Vampire Academy is an ass whooping book. Like, there's a lot of ass kicking in that book too. I really want to read this book. Another book I'm gonna read is Under the Never Sky by Veronica Rossi. I heard a lot of mixed reviews. Half say it's a great book, half say it's not as good because you can't connect real well with the characters. I think that is it for my January wrap up and February TBR. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye! Remember how I told you guys I was in choir in my last video? I am wearing my choir t-shirt from 2009. I'm ballin'. The first book I finished in January, because that's totally a month. Look at that. It has demon wings. Demon wings. I have demon wings.